Top five, top five, top five.
So topical back with another video. I'm Strange Wayne. He is Nate. Today we're doing top 5 A24 films for their upcoming release. Minari, how does that work?
So he's going to start with his 5 and 4. I'll give my 5 and 4, 3, 2, 3, 2. Then we'll trade off number ones. We also have something called the Zemeckis rule, which just means if we both have the same movie on our list, but one of us has 2 spots or higher, that person will call it Zemeckis, and we won't talk about it until we get to it on their list.
Exactly. I'm going to start off with my number 5. My number 5 will be Enemy. Take you still haven't seen this movie.
Still haven't seen it.
Need to see this movie. It's very good. I'm pretty sure it's like Denis Villeneuve made this movie.
Yeah, he did. I was just reading about it.
Yeah, fucking incredible. How he like takes the fear of commitment and puts it in this film, and how like much you have to think about this movie and whatnot is amazing. All the charts incredible. Relatability comes for this too. When I watched at the time, it was more relatable. Now that I thought about it more, not the film, but like who I am as a person and whatnot more, like it definitely like. It's not that I don't like being tied down. It's just I like to be alone, but not lonely.
Makes sense.
I don't have much relation with Ryan Gosling's character in this movie. Still, very good movie though. How it makes you think and puts you on a roller coaster ride without the world ending. Breath of fresh air, obviously. My number 4 is going to be The Florida Project.
It's my number 5.
How it makes you... It was my number 5, I switched them. How it makes you feel all these emotions and constantly... I feel like I'm the ball and pong. So I'm going back and forth to like, she's a shitty mom. Oh, like what a heartwarming good moment. I like her. And she's shitty again. Like you go back and forth on like the dislike and like for this mother, this child.
Yeah.
Because it's like on one hand, you know, I guess she's trying to do the right thing in her mind, but instead of fucking selling that coochie, the pussy, she can go and get a real fucking job. Chick-fil-A, they pay $13 an hour.
Correct.
I guess she'd rather get dick than say, my pleasure. She'll rather pleasure than say, my pleasure. Stuff like that. It's like, man, you put me on a roller coaster ride of emotions going back and forth. And we went and visited the hotel while we was in Florida. That shit was fire.
Facts! Like I said, that's my number 5, since we're there now anyways. Yeah, I agree with all of that a lot. A great performance from Willem Dafoe. And I feel like, you know, sometimes movies just feel like they have to give you this big spectacle sometimes, right? I mean, and that is like, that's what makes money and all that kind of stuff. But this is just literally such like a very personal story, a very intimate story. Very much so like slice of life style, but it's like a lifestyle that not most of us are not going to experience, which is a good thing. And it just does a really good job of like really making you feel for like the kids in this movie, right?
Yeah, sure.
You know, and just that idea of like
badass little kids.
You know, how when you're a kid, like you really don't realize how good or bad you do or don't have things. Like, you know, like this is just normal to them. They're just trying to go out and have fun and like go explore abandoned houses. And you know, when we were at the hotel, what we should have done was walk through the woods and see if we could have found that abandoned house, as I wonder if that was actually like around the corner from it or not.
Your guess is as good as mine.
My number 4 is Hereditary. I'm a little bitch.
Tell me something I don't know.
I don't like horror movies for that reason, like, and that reason alone. But as we have said multiple times and many of other people said, some movies are just really, really good movies that happen to be horror movies. And this is one of them. And the reason that I know I struggled, I think for a minute it was going to be my number 6 just because I don't like horror movies. But I can't deny the fact that for whatever reason, this movie has just really stuck with me. And the amount of times that I think about Hereditary throughout the year is more than I think about some movies that I just like, I absolutely love. Like I think about that movie all the time. And I think it's just because like that honest portrayal of like a grieving family, mixed with like the excellent cinematography and the tension that it adds. I really like the fact that there's not like, so like the monster or like the demon entity, it's like it's present the whole movie, but it's not like physically like fucking with them the whole movie. So it's almost sort of like kind of a Jaws effect in that like we know it's there, but you not shoving it in front of the camera and putting it in front of our face the whole time just adds so much like fear and tension into the story itself. So it's just an incredibly well-made movie that I just can't forget about, even though I've only ever seen it once.
That there's impressive.
And that was your 5 and 4.
Yeah.
My number 3 is a Safdie Brothers film, and it is Good Time. This, I chose it over Uncut Gems because I like Robert Pattinson's performance more.
Mm-hmm.
Both was considered for the number 3 spot, but the investment in this movie is off the charts. And I mean, sometimes Sandler peaks in Uncut Gems to me personally. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go Robert Pattinson on this one because he is that character. It feels like you're on a roller coaster ride of emotions because you're watching this character for so long that you kind of want him to win, even though he's a disgusting human being. Like, he's a terrible human being.
Guy's the worst. I mean, I like him, but he's the worst.
And, like, you feel uncomfortable at times because how bad of a human being he is. But then he gets stuck in a situation with even more shittier people, and you kind of root for him. And it's like, what am I doing right now? But it has that effect. The investment is crazy on the charts. I'm going to say it.
Again.
Like, I felt like I was going to have a heart attack watching this movie. I was, like, so, like, nervous, uncomfortable, like, invested, like, in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how... Oh, what's his name? The crazy motherfucker who wrote Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. What's his name?
Oh, I can't remember.
How he writes, like he's in the game and in the situation, is how I was like viewing this movie. You know, it's a crazy investment. My number 2, same type of investment. Wow, I was just like, oh my goodness, I'm so in this movie. Like grabbing onto the seat really like captured me, and that's Ex Machina.
That's my number 1.
I like this movie goes in a select view. Like I'm invested to the point of like absurdity. Like if you're talking, I'm not hearing what you're saying. I'm so invested in this movie.
Yeah.
And because it's a science fiction movie, and I'm not a huge science fiction fan, that I loved it even more because of that.
Mm-hmm.
So we have this just like this odd premise with this twist because I'm so like in the movie that I'm not expecting a twist. And I'm talking like, let's go back to investment. Investment out the wazoo, off the charts. Like Good Times is up there. Films like Jaws, Vertigo, like classic films that just hold your investment like no other. This is one of them for me. And just a twist, I wasn't expecting the twist. And like all the kookiness of fucking
Oscar Isaac's
exactly
character.
Oscar Isaac and stuff. Amazing movie.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with everything you said, and I think the reason that it bumps it up to my number 1 is that I do love science fiction. So to take a science fiction film, and so like we talked about it before.
It's kind of like what you said about Hereditary. They made a really good movie that happened to be science fiction.
Yeah, and that's correct. And like science fiction, it can cover a lot of different areas in film, but this one was just so much like smaller and intimate. Like you only spend any real time with 2 real people, and then one thing that might as well be a real person at this point. So like there's really only 4 characters that matter in the whole movie, the least being like his Asian android that's like the prototype, right? So to make something so small and intimate but add so much like tension and suspense, and it's like it really is a roller coaster because the whole time you're just like, I don't know how this is going to end. Like it's so incredibly difficult to predict, and like Ava does such a good job of even convincing you. Like I mean, shit, like there's a chance the whole time that she's just being manipulative, but at the same time, it's like you don't want her to be because like Donald Gleason's character is just such a good guy, and it's like you don't want that for him, and that just adds to the like. Oh, like there's this little piece of me that is like, this could be where it's going, but like I don't want it to. And then it does go there. So it's like, it's heartbreaking, but it still just kind of leaves you with that like, oh shit, like feeling at the end of the movie. And I love that so much.
I mentioned it before, but I was the complete opposite. I was so like sucked in and invested in this movie. I was kind of like Donald Gleason. I didn't see that coming.
Really?
It's very like we have a lot of love for this movie and see it two different ways.
Yeah.
I think we could say that a lot about A24 movies in general.
True.
There's so many different perspectives that you can watch one of their movies.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm sure you take 5 people that watch The Lighthouse, you get 5 different perspectives.
Yeah.
Because their movies are just like, they're art. And they really care about the art. And art is perspective at the end of the day. So their movies are fucking incredible.
Yeah.
My number 1.
Can I do my number 3 first?
Yeah, that's true.
And my number 2?
That is true.
So I can ruin your number 1?
I got ahead of myself. It's on your list?
Of course it is. I love that movie. Yes. Anyways, my number 3, before we get ahead of ourselves, is I gave my number 3 spot to the Safdie brothers as well, but I did go Uncut Gems. Super tense film. I think the reason that I pick it over Good Time is because, well, you know how I feel about scumbags in films, or bad
Sandler's
people in
a
general.
scumbag.
He is, but not that kind of all right. He's like just kind of like nobody. Like, okay, so his family is like emotionally hurt by the decisions that he makes, but like he's not that much of a scumbag. Like, he's who I could see you being when you grow up. Like, he's still an okay guy. He's just like, he's made bad decisions. He's very misguided. Like,
I don't know the actress's name, but the one he's cheating on his wife with. I hope I'm Adam Sandler and Uncut Gems one. Howard.
well, maybe not by the end of the movie, but
Oh my goodness.
but yeah, and it's like, especially, I think the reason that I like feel a little bit more endeared to his character over Pattinson's is that like, kind of by the end of the movie, he's gone through so much shit that he's kind of at that point where he's like, he is kind of trying to like steer the ship back in the right direction. And it's like, so anyways, the reason I say what I said before is we talk about it all the time. It's really easy for you to pull for scumbags in movies. I have a hard time doing that because they're fucking scumbags.
So
It's just hard for me to like empathize with shitty characters in films. Not that I don't enjoy movies that have like shitty characters that are supposed to be like your protagonist in films, but I actually found myself pulling for him by the end of the movie, and I was like, I want him to hit this bet so bad. And maybe part of it is because like there are, like you mentioned with Pattinson, there are worse people that he's now involved with at the end, and it's like, I don't want this guy to die. Like, he's trying to fix things. He's just trying to play the system.
I was kind of listening in and out. I kept thinking about Homegirl and her lingerie while Adam Sandler was in the closet.
And then that ending, like it's like, shit, like, okay, he's happy he won. The guy he owes money to was like, fucking great. Well, I guess we're square. We don't have to do this. But he's just pissed that goon, that henchman off so much that like he's just like, I don't give a shit. Like, and then what happens. And
That
it's like,
movie,
oh man,
it wasn't on my list, but if we did a top 10 easily, that movie is the reason why you don't need CGI to be a good theater experience.
that's true. Yeah,
That fucking wind-sucking moment out of the crowd, I remember like it was yesterday. Spoiler alert, when that gunshot goes off and Adam Sandler's laying there like smiling with the fucking head bleeding,
yeah,
you just all
Yeah.
at once. Oh my god, so amazing.
yeah. So that was my number 3. My number 2, I'm sure, is your number 1, and it is mid-90s. Yeah,
Of course.
yeah,
Top 10 favorite movies of all time. It's fucking amazing.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, I was a kid in the 90s, and there's just so much to this that like I feel, because like there really was just kind of like a vibe, and like this is true for every like generation, every decade. Like there are like cultural consistencies no matter what part of the country that you lived in, because you are all still experiencing the same current events. We're all still like, you know, living in the same national economy. Like there is like this weird connection to people who grew up when you grew up, because you just remember and understand certain things. And I remember the big skateboard boom of the 90s because I was a part of it. And so like there's definitely a certain connection there. I definitely did not have the home life that this kid had, but like I still kind of always felt like I don't like, there's like a certain like isolation to his life, right? And I don't know if it's because like I'm an only child or what, but there's still something about that I can relate to, and like that need to like impress other people, like that need to be a part of something. And like I just really feel that, and I've always loved it. And I love like how indie this film is, but still being like Jonah Hill made this movie. That dude has all the, like, he could get all the money he needs to make a film, and A24 backed it. So like they could have put a ton of money into this film, but they understood what it was. And I think that's really important. So they kept it very indie, very low budget, like it was made by a group of skateboarding kids in the 90s.
Well, they're skateboarding kids now. These are pro skaters.
Well, yeah,
you know?
I know, but like that's when the film
That's
is.
what I loved about it.
Yeah.
It's like the authenticity's there. Like these people really, they live this shit.
Yeah.
You're just putting them back a decade or two.
Right.
And then how kids really are. The authenticity is off the charts amazing. Jonah Hill made this movie for me, it felt like, because of the dialogue, right? Like that, how authentic it is. You look at Sonny's room as a child, things don't change. Wrestling, Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
Strange Wings room, same age. And then you take it a step further when he's growing up, the music. Top 10 favorite albums, you got Liquid Swords and 36 Chambers. I love Wu-Tang, I love 90s. Like, obviously, there's more, like, modern-day music in my top 10 favorite albums. I do have a extensive love for that type of music, from the rap music from the 90s, I should say. They play a little bit Nirvana. I fuck with Nirvana, too. My favorite scene in one of my favorite movies, Goodfellas, is in that movie. Like, everything, the stars aligned perfectly for this movie. I saw it 3 times in theaters. It's top 10 favorite movies of all time for me. This movie just makes me unconditional happy. Is that right?
Unconditionally?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the
That's
right
not
context.
that's not the right context.
Yeah.
It makes me happy.
Overwhelmingly happy?
Overwhelmingly happy. Like, this, like, all the good words in the universe describe this movie to me. Like, head on a Sunday afternoon. This is a good fucking, it's a good film. It's a good movie. I don't think I will ever watch this movie and be like, I've seen this movie too much.
It's a good feeling.
I've seen this movie probably 3 times a year since it came out.
I believe that.
It's so good.
Yeah.
They have a character named Fuck Shit. How did I forget about Fuck Shit? Fuck Shit.
Shit.
What a great character name. Like, I don't know if Jonah Hill knew these characters or he just thought this up in his head, but it's just like, how fucking great are these characters?
Yeah.
They're individuals.
That's true.
And back then, you didn't have cell phones.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, your little group of friends were different.
Yeah.
Like, 5th grade wants to be a filmmaker. These 2 guys are really in skateboarding and hip hop. And Sonny, he's just trying to fit in. Fucking Spanish kid's name. What's his name? Fuck. The kid who gets beat up by his mother. Like, this oddball group of people coming together because they have one thing in common, but they still are all individuals. And now we don't get that because cell phones. So, like, oh, I like movies. I'll just talk to people a lot that like movies. We worked together at one time. We didn't have, you weren't supposed to be on your phones at work. We had that same oddball group of friends that barely have anything in common, but one major thing in common. And we're still friends to this day.
That's true.
This movie is, I felt like I said, I felt like it was made for me. It's rough around the edges. It's shiesty. You got this little kid going around drinking 40s and fucking fingering girls and shit. Like, fucking incredible. The greatest A24 movie of all time, in my opinion. But I went on a tangent. If you couldn't tell, I love mid-90s.
Clearly! No debating!
Tell us what your favorite top 5 favorite A24 movies down in the comment section are. Go back up, hit the like button, share the video.
And
Subscribe.